everyone, and welcome to another episode of 1923 Main Street.
Home of the Disney Travel Podcast with the latest Disney travel news. We are your hosts.
I am Mike Bello-Braddock.
And I'm Amelia Bello-Braddock. And today we talk about closures all around Walt Disney World and rethemings World Disney Parks.
Yeah, so it is 2023 now. In our last episode, we talked about some of the 10 new rides and attractions that are coming our way across Disneyland and Walt Disney World.
Yeah, well, I guess Disney thinks to make room for these, they need to close some of their other ones.
On the flip side of it, there are a bunch of things at Walt Disney World specifically we're talking about today that are closing for good or that have a future that's a little foggy. So why don't we start off with what we know is permanently closing? Start with Hollywood Studios.
So permanently closing are already closed the Jedi Training Academy, Trials of the Temple, Star Wars Galactic Spectacular, and sadly, Voyage of the Little Mermaid.
Now, you say sadly Voyage of the Little Mermaid. I agree. That was the show with live Ariel singing.
I loved it.
Now, what about the Jedi Training Academy? I'm going to post some pictures of you there this week. Did you like that when you did it?
I liked it, but I didn't have a sentimental attachment to it.
Yeah, I'm sad to see that one go.
I liked it, but for me, it was a one and done. I've won it. I've done it. So I don't really need.
They've sort of switched it in the past, but it sounds like this time it might be gone for good in any form. And the Star Wars Galactic Spectacular, that is the nighttime show that was Star Wars themed with lots of fire and stuff. It was pretty cool too. I think we only saw it once or twice, but I did like it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do to replace any of these. I have not heard yet. So those are sad permanent closures. Now, what's up next here? Before we get to the big one, that is the talk of the town.
Yes, Disney's Animal Kingdom Park. There are some closures here as well. Starting with Cali River Rapids will be closed on January 9th for refurbishment, and there's no estimated date for when it will come back.
And one we know that's already closed is getting the final step now.
The complete demolition of Primeval Whirl, or the spin cycle, will be soon finished.
Yeah, and again, I haven't heard what's going there. Now, I sort of liked Primeval Whirl.
I loved Primeval Whirl. It's very disappointing to me.
It's funny, that whole area of Dino Land.
That was the best ride.
Well, people who don't get the theming of it, it was supposed to be sort of cheesy carnival rides because that's what the sort of area was by Chester and Hester or whatever they were who made that area to capitalize on these dinosaurs that were found nearby. They were sort of made the carnival rides, and that's why there's carnival games and all that stuff there. So other people, if you don't know that, you go, well, what is this stupid ride? But it was themed, but sometimes the theming goes beyond casual guests, right? They don't get what and why something is there.
But I don't know why they chose that one to demolish and not Triceratops Spin.
Well, who knows? Maybe Triceratops Spin is coming next.
We already have Dumbo. In fact, we have 2 Dumbos. We don't need their evil cousin.
And Magic Carpets of Aladdin, right?
Exactly.
They're all the same ride, essentially.
There
really isn't one at Hollywood of that kind.
And that's why Hollywood's the best park.
They now have alien swirling saucers, which are about as close to it as you can get.
I love alien swirling saucers. That's more like Mater, though, inland.
And we still don't know. I guess Zootopia is the leading belief for that area, but we'll see what's going to happen.
Well, you know what? At least if Zootopia is over there, then it's not going to replace something else.
Yeah, so that's it. Anyway, that is now going to be, so there will be some construction going on in Dino Land. We'll learn more, I'm sure, what happens. Maybe this year's D23, they'll have a whole new stuff for that. Or maybe it's part of the $6.4 billion that we hope is going to Villains Land and other things.
Well, I guess we'll see.
And then finally, at Magic Kingdom Park,
Big Thunder Mountain Railroad will be closing for a short refurbishment in January, but more importantly, Splash Mountain will be closed permanently on January 23rd, 2023 for the Tiana Ride overhaul.
Yeah, now Disney has sort of changed some dates. The Swiss Family Treehouse in Adventureland and Disneyland, they've sort of been hedging on the dates. But anyway, whether or not the dates move here or there, we do know Splash Mountain for sure. So if you want a nice January ride in the cold water, go for it, although it's a bit warmer now in Florida. So those are the things that are closing or gone for good or being refurbished. But the big one in the last, since Christmas, New Year's is Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yes, I'm extremely mad that Disney did not give me enough notice about this.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation. So here's what we know. what they've said is it will be closing for a long refurbishment on February 20th, 2023, and that it will reopen sometime in the summer. I have a feeling that could go longer, but who knows?
That's what I'm saying. I'm really concerned because Aerosmith's contract is up. It just got up this year. So
Last year.
So what's newly 2023. What's going to happen? Are they going to retheme it? Are they going to retheme it well? Are they going to make it about a cartoon Disney movie?
Yeah, so here's the talk. So people, I don't believe that I have heard any official source saying we are not retheming it. There may have been, but I haven't heard it. It's very sketchy. If it's a long overhaul, I can't believe personally that they would just, repair the tracks and all the stuff. If you're talking 6 months now, that's going to be a good, or 5 or 6 months. So a fairly long refurbishment. So yeah, Aerosmith's contract is done with Disney right now. They're out of contract. They it used to be Rock and Roller Coaster in Disneyland Paris at Walt Disney Studios. They rethemed that, and they did an Avengers theme. But that is not likely to happen at Walt Disney World because there are agreements in place with Universal Studios Florida and the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
Which would mean they probably wouldn't do an Avengers ride like they did at Paris. So I don't think it's going to be that. But there's a couple of other ways they could go here.
They could go a different music related, which is what I want because it keeps the theme, but not necessarily
They're not going to do
Aerosmith.
Harry Styles.
I don't want them to do Harry Styles.
Or Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift would not fit with the vibe.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, please don't make it inherently Disney. That's all I want.
Yeah, so here's the first one. They go music. If they decided to just change up the band, then they would what? They would have to change the pre-show. Would they, it would seem sort of cheesy to me if you just left the guitar and like, here's the thing. If you're going to change the band, depends on the band. Are you going to leave the gigantic Fender Stratocaster out there, the nice red guitar, and just change it from...
They could leave the outside and overhaul the inside.
And then they got to do... But are you going to have just the same pre-show with a different band? Or, you got to put a little bit more thought to it than that.
Well, that's why it's gone for 6 months.
I think inside the actual ride itself, if they were just changing the signs and sort of the queue signs... Instead of making it's all themed around this back alley getting picked up by this super stretch limo. That's easier than the pre-show part where they would want to put a little bit more thought and effort in. Maybe they have and they're going to surprise us. Who knows? Or maybe they changed the whole inside waiting area altogether.
They could do that. They could also make it so that like you're the new band and then you get picked up in the stretch limo. That would be cool also.
I just think they shouldn't do an incremental change. It's sort of a waste. If you're, the contract
it's 6 months. I don't think it's incremental.
Well, look at Splash Mountain. That's over a year to do that one. Mind you, there's a lot more to change there,
True.
right? It's a much bigger inside area than just
and then again,
the roller coaster part.
Splash Mountain needs to be completely overhauled, which to me again means maybe they're not changing that much. Maybe they're keeping the theming similar, but just different enough that it doesn't infringe on their copyright with Aerosmith.
So that's one. So the first thing is they don't change anything like they've sort of hinted. I just don't believe that. It doesn't feel right. I think it would be weird if they close it for this long, do a bunch of work, it comes back and it's still Aerosmith, who the band itself is aging. A lot of younger people don't know them. I love them, but I grew up with them, right? And then the contract's up. So are they going to spend time renewing? I guess they could extend the rights to the music and all that sort of stuff.
But I don't know if there's really that many super, super popular bands. Like there's 5 Seconds of Summer. There's like Coldplay,
then that leads to the next option is they do the dreaded, and I say dreaded because we're not fans of when they Disneyfy everything with their own properties. I mean, we've had this discussion on the show before where certain things are Disney, even though they don't have Disney characters in them, just because they've been there for a long time. Like the Grand Floridian. You don't have to make it Mickey's Grand Floridian or Cinderella, that sort of thing.
It kind of is Cinderella's Grand Floridian, but she doesn't need to be on the sign.
Well, then they put in the Beauty and the Beast bar, right? So they're messing even with that. But that aside, let's say they go Rock and Roller Coaster becomes Disney themed. And we've talked about this before. Some of the leading things were what in our minds?
Zootopia?
Zootopia would make sense because of the train, right?
No, that's not at all.
What else would make sense for sort of speed on the roller coaster? Because there is the train into Zootopia, so you could make it around rushing for the train. And, then they have, well, of course, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway's already done that. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of other Disney properties and characters. They've already used Guardians.
And they've already used Tron. That's what I'm thinking also.
Yeah, so they've run out of things.
Fast as well.
It's hard to say. Are there any Disney music acts? Sure there are. Or Disney shows, right? It could be Star Wars themed.
Disney
but then they already have Galaxy's Edge there and Star Tours, so I don't think it'll be Star Wars. Just because, so let's eliminate Star Wars. We'll eliminate Guardians.
What Disney should do is they should make up a band, because then they can just have that for as much as that. It's their property, and then they make a movie, and then it gets all popular, and they keep rocking pretty much the same. That's what I want. That's what I would like Disney to do.
You think of things like Coco or any of the popular movies they've had, and Canto. They don't really work there. There's no components of those movies.
Why do you keep listing animated movies?
Well, because that's what they've tended to do. Except, I guess Guardians wasn't. They could do Vilified, as we've talked.
They could do Vilified.
They could make it a villain's ride, a Maleficent coaster. I would love to see that, even though we know the coaster.
That would take way more than 6 months.
They don't have to change the track in the inside. I'm assuming they're not doing that.
But unless they're lying, unless they're just like, summer 22.
They could be lying.
Oh,
they could be lying.
Winter
it would be a good
2024. Oh, December 2024. Hey guys, welcome back.
They've done that, and I would not mind a good lie. If Disney's going to lie and extend it, it better be a good lie. I don't want to lie it's extended and then it's just Aerosmith. They're still. Anyway.
I think if they're just fixing the track, I would like it to break down a little bit less. That's something I would like.
Well, that is one of the main reasons.
Something I would like as well.
Whatever's causing that, the launch or whatever it is, they're going to fix it up.
Or at least stop breaking down for at least 2 hours at a time.
And it would be new cars if they're retheming. But anyway, let us know. Yeah. This is the big talk of the town these days. I'm going to do a poll this week, and we're going to ask, do you want it to stay the same? Do you want it to be a different band? Or do you want it to be fully rethemed?
Yeah, or let us know what kind of do you want it to be Disney animated, or do you want it to be something else? Let us know.
Do that in the comments. So watch for that. It'll be a Twitter poll at 1923 Main Street, and we'll see what our audience thinks. What do you want it to be? Let's say, given those choices, how are you going to vote? You want to stay the same Aerosmith? You want to be a different band? You want it to be something entirely different, which would be a Disney retheme?
I definitely do not want the Disney retheme. I like Aerosmith, but I think a new band would probably be the best option. Or not necessarily a band, but just something music related.
And I was going to say I don't want it to be Disney rethemed too, but they did get me with the Tower of Terror in Disney California Adventure Park.
But I don't want that here.
They did a good job when we thought they weren't going to when they made it Guardians.
I'm not saying they'll do it bad. I'm just saying Hollywood Studios, it doesn't really fit with the whole theming of Hollywood anyways. Because now are you going to change the park name?
No, well, anything fits with Hollywood if it's movie related.
Yeah, but...
Like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway from the old cartoons.
I feel like now they just need to change Tower of Terror too, because that whole section's kind of like a little bit of a time capsule.
Yeah. We'll see what happens, everyone. And we won't really... Well, maybe they'll announce it before. Who knows?
Sunset Boulevard is like my favorite street in all of Disney World, so I'm getting really nervous about what Disney's going to do. I have a lot of attachment to this, so I guess we'll just have to see.
All right, so follow along. Let us know what you think on the show. Follow along on all social media at 1923 Main Street. But if you haven't voted yet in that poll, go check it out and let us know what you think. Thanks for listening, as always. Happy New Year once again. This is our first show of 2023, at least recorded in 2023. And we will see you again next week. Have a magical day.
Bye-bye.